This Belmont Picks and Photo Finish live edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy. You're listening to SGP. Wait, hold on. Say it again.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking that money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Ciao.
Should
indeed.
I get my scarf? Would we be a better pair if you had the glasses and I had the?
I do have my horse racing glasses.
Come on, Sean,
on.
you got the picks. Come on, I got the guy. Wait, like a strung out Milano fan.
Yes,
I figure someone who loves the semen that much probably is doing it for a purpose.
You're wearing your Italian Football Club jacket. We got to check in on what John Gruden is doing over there in the European Football League. The Milano Seamen. See how they're doing.
He's helping the seamen get to their intended finish line.
John Gruden knows how to get the seamen in the right spot to win that game. I can do the headlines write themselves.
These
right?
emails are going to get him in trouble in the future.
I know he's already got in a bit of trouble.
Taking a job for some semen, huh?
We got no horsing around on today's episode. We got some Belmont picks and then a really fun interview we already taped. Excited to share it. It's with Ian Cummings, who is the founder of Photo Finish Live, the digital horse racing game that you've been addicted to, Ryan. So
also some good Madden stories.
Yeah, correct. He worked at developing games for Madden. Some awesome John Madden stories. To Ryan's point, a bunch of good stuff.
It's definitely worth sticking around.
Yeah,
I mean,
highly recommend.
I get to relive some of my glory days.
Yeah, even if you're just like, well, all right, I don't know if I want to dabble with the game. The interview is cool. He bunch of good stories, good anecdotes. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're going to start off with some analog horse racing, Ryan.
Yes.
Then we're going to transition to the digital. Of course, this is NBA Finals week. Make sure you get in on the NBA Gambling Podcast. We got the $100 cash, $100 gift card, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Finals. Get in over there and check out our NBA Finals episode. And for the Belmont NYRA bets, Naira bets, code SGPN25 get you the $200 deposit bonus and a $25 free bet. If you have not signed up, what are you waiting for? NairaBets.com/SGPN25. I use my bonus bets, which was awesome to cash on the Preakness. Shout out to Malcolm, helped me get home there. But not only that, they have a ton, not only the free bet, the deposit bonus. I mean, you can get a sweet bonus with the Penn Mile, the Monmouth Park. I mean, there are so many. They're really good about giving you some free action, some free plays, and perfect, especially for summer. I know you think, okay, Belmont, what am I going to do? Horse racing? No, now is the time to hang around, subscribe to Chase's podcast, the Notorious OTB, and really become a little, a little track jockey yourself. And I mean, it's great. We have it on The Office, Throw on the Racing. There's just action going constantly, which is awesome for the summer. NYRABets.com/SGPN25.
Real quick, Sean.
Yes.
Also, if you're one of these people that's like, yeah, tennis is great. It's on all the time. Horse racing's on more.
Yes.
Actually, horse racing and tennis probably cover the entire 24-hour clock.
Yeah.
But I will say there is nothing better than forgetting about your horse betting account and then firing it up And it's like, oh, Breeders' Cup. All right, let's see what's. Holy, I won. Last bet was a winner. Got some money. Found, as Malcolm will tell us, found money.
Found money on the street. All right, let's get to it. Joining us on the line, our fellow horse racing experts. You know him from the notorious OTB podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Chase, aka the Wolf of Oaklawn, rocking his. Now I don't remember. Is the medallion on the chain new, Wolf?
It's been around for a little bit. I have a couple of different pendants that I kind of cycle through. You know, just depending on my mood. Yeah, exactly.
Can I say those are some devilish eyes I see in that pendant?
Yeah, kind of reminds me of some like a wolf mixed with the Dogecoin dog.
Yeah.
With some furrowed brows.
You're right.
Know you're serious. You're locked in.
You can tell there's some Asian animation in there.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Looking pretty sharp. Joining us as well, a gentleman not rocking a chain, but you know him from the MLB Gambling Podcast and the Premier League Gambling Podcast, Malcolm Bamford. What's happening, Malcolm?
Hello, boys. Let me tell you, I'm having a lovely week. You know, I've already done some lovely things. I'm getting to talk to you for 45 minutes, you three, and I've got a lovely weekend coming up. The dahlias in my back garden and the most beautiful pink you've ever seen. Everything's coming up, Malcolm, this week. This is just great. I'm having a lovely time.
I'm sorry. I was actually paying attention, and I didn't. What was that last part? What's growing in your garden?
My dahlias.
Oh, your dahlias. I'm sorry. I was trying to unpack what vegetable that was. Okay, not a vegetable at all.
Well, and Malcolm, I'm sure you cash big because when we had your partner from the Premier League Gambling Podcast on our podcast, I gave out under 2.5 goals. Real Madrid, Dortmund, that cash. I think you also had no on both teams to score, or one team to score and one to be shut out, right? So looks like you guys probably did pretty good.
We parlayed both of those things at plus 170, which wasn't a fancy price, but just kept us ticking over. So yeah, that topped up the pot a little bit for the upcoming Euros, which start next Friday.
Well,
That's very exciting.
Malcolm, I don't have it in front of me, but I follow you on X. And if you don't, Malcolm is a jolly fellow. Follow on.
If you like feet pics, Malcolm's your guy.
He's just it's just nice, Ryan. You know, because most of my feet are these
baths
are Americans, and then you get these delightful bath tweets from Malcolm.
I'd love to see the bots that reply to Malcolm's photos of his feet. It must be electric.
Now
free pics in bio, nudes in bio. You must have a real smorgasbord of in bio bots coming out of you.
Well, now this one, Ryan, I didn't make sense of. I was gonna hit him up on X, but then I was like, oh well, we're having Malcolm on the show. Just ask him on air.
Perfect.
This was June 4th, playing at SJP today, shitting my lucky pants, had a haircut, a shower, 3 nervous poos, moisturized twice, and listened to 3 Jimmy Nail records. Wish me luck. Hashtag NUFC. What can you translate what looks to be English here?
That's actually part of the lovely week that I've been having. Yesterday, SJP is St James's Park, which is the home of Newcastle United. So yesterday I was invited along by a friend of the sponsor, and I actually played a game on St James's Park, which is a 48-year-old man. I was shitting my pants. There was no need for me to be that nervous. It was not important. No one cared. But if you've got a chance to play it, what is it, Citizens Bank or Financial Field, wherever, you've got a chance, that would bet you, wouldn't it? And I had a lot of nervous energy in the morning. So yes, I went and got my hair cut because I thought, just in case I do something magnificent and I go viral, I don't want to go viral with shit hair. That would just sum up my life. So I went and got my hair cut, which is why I look quite smart.
Yes.
Yeah. And I had loads of showers and I moisturized a couple of times. And then, unfortunately, I played like an absolute drain. We lost 6-4. The least 5 of the 6 were my fault. But fuck it, I had a great time. And yeah, I got to play. I mean, I had a wee in the same urinal that Kylian Mbappe had a wee in only 6 months ago. So Great time.
Where's that photo? Where's that photo?
Think about that. If DNA was airborne, potentially Malcolm could have seen the greatness of Kylian Mbappe. At least their dicks maybe were seeing eye to eye.
Yeah, maybe one day you'll get lucky and cross swords there at the urinal.
Let me tell you about the time your grandfather's dick crossed paths with Kylian Mbappe's
We used
dick.
the same urinal.
For how many goals have you scored?
Well, delightful follow.
Everyone likes a good dick joke.
Yes, we all do. Nice. And again, congrats, Malcolm. We did, gave out a nice winner on the Preakness that came through. We're looking to run it back here.
Well, you buried the lead too. You should check out Malcolm's football show, because the Euros are happening.
Yes,
Sean.
Euros right around the corner.
They're so big that we're actually going to do an episode on this feed.
Well, and the feed is being renamed in honor of the Euros.
I
right?
think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm just pointing out that this is almost World Cup level. You will be betting on soccer this summer, Sean.
I am excited to learn about.
You don't have to pretend to be excited. I'm just telling you, you're going to be betting on it this summer.
Now this could be a dumb question. Is America invited to the Euros?
It's the World Cup, but only European countries.
See, Malcolm's laughing, so it makes me seem like it was a dumb question.
It's not a dumb question.
Yeah, come on.
Brazil's not invited either.
Yeah, well, you guys too good. Are you scared of us, Malcolm?
Argentina not invited.
Running scared.
Terrified.
Of our footy.
Russia, I don't think is invited.
Oh wow.
In Europe, we got enough to be getting on with.
Yeah.
But it does seem like most of the good countries of soccer are on Europe. Most of them.
All right, I'll look into that.
Yeah, you can look at
But we're here to talk the ponies. Saratoga.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Saratoga.
It's not called the Belmont anymore.
No, it's the Belmont at Saratoga Saturday.
Sounds a little bit like Saturday Night Football on Thursday, or Thursday Night Football on Saturday.
But racing kicks off Thursday, so they got action all week long. I'm sure over on the Notorious OTB, maybe give out some Thursday plays. But we are going to start this episode Friday, race 12, 9 furlongs of 500,000 grade 1 Acorn Stakes on some dirt. Chase, I'll let you take it from there. What do we like? What do we think in race 12 on Friday?
Yeah, this race came up, as we say, pretty salty in terms of who showed up to actually race in it. You've got your Kentucky Oaks winner, Torpedo Anna. You've got your Black Eyed Susan winner, Gunsong, who I think we hit on both of those horses in those races. Yes. It's a stacked field, and I think that I'm going to try to beat Torpedo Anna, the 8-5 favorite here, who's running back off of that big effort. Her win was on a sloppy track. It seems to be the product of a sloppy track. If you look at her speed figures, they seem to pop whenever she gets a little bit of moisture in the ground. So I'm going to. It had a bad start last out and just a nightmare trip in general. And the jockey packed it in and said it wasn't our day. So if this horse could run back to what it did in the Gazelle Stakes, 2 back after the unfortunate break, I think that Where's My Ring could really be a surprise in the Acorn.
I feel like Where's My Ring was that. Remember that video where the dude throws the ring down and then it goes off the side of the boat and they try to dive in and rescue the ring.
Oh, yeah.
They also have a horse named Where's My Ring.
Well, Ryan, I know that video because
oh, really?
People always say this is Daniel Jones leading up to the NFL season, and then the throwing the ring to his buddy and completely waste.
You must not be watching the training camp footage.
Is he throwing lasers?
Oh, deep stuff all the time. Let's go.
So you like Where's My Ring, Wolf, here at 8-1 right now?
Yeah, 8-1, and honestly, I think with the steam that Torpedo Anna is getting right now, that price might only just creep up by the time we hit post time. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 10-1 on Where's My Ring, considering how dirty the last performance was in terms of them kind of packing it up to protect the horse. It looks really bad on paper, but it's something that you can kind of ignore because the horse was in a protected spot.
Malcolm, how say you? Any plays you like here for Friday race 12?
Yeah, I do kind of take the opposite view on Torpedo Anna to Chase here, because this does look like a match on paper. You've got the top 2 that were first and second in the Oaks. Chase mentioned the wet conditions. I think, are we not going to see some rain around at the weekend, Chase? Is this not a similar type of setup, though, do you not think?
It's kind of 50-50 on if they're going to get rain or not on a certain day. Like Friday, I think it has the best chance to be dry. Saturday looks like the day that ends up wet.
Right, okay. So yeah, I've got no issues with the conditions. Torpedo Anna ran a career best last time, and I just think she'll hold off the other one again. I think she'll hold off, just FYI. She appears to be holding her form. And crucially, the people on track, the horsemen, we like to talk about the horsemen. And this is really important with the fillies particularly, is that she looks well. Fillies, the female of the species, and I'm not sure it matters what species we're talking about, you need to keep your eye on them. You need to sort of see what condition they're in. And Torpedo Anna is reportedly holding her condition very well, which I think is a big tick in the box for me. So plus 175, 7-4. It's not going to make you rich, but I think she's a good price in what does look like a match.
Can you believe that? Malcolm, that was a quote about Caitlin Clark. Right? Let's get the clips team to make sure we.
He was alluding to some WNBA drama.
Jesus.
Ryan, I got it. Next time my wife and I are in an argument, I'm going to be like, "Hey, we need to check your condition. Are you currently? How are you feeling? Are you fit?
Are you fit for? I mean, probably.
She
not.
would probably like the idea of putting a bit in my mouth when things get a little testy at the old home front.
Whoa.
So Ryan, what are we doing here? I mean, Torpedo Anna, I like her, but 8-5 is not a working man's price. Malcolm, do you have any? I mean, I think I might just go with "Where's My Ring?" Small sprinkle at 8-1.
You're choosing Chase. Okay, I'll choose Malcolm. Well, I'll ride with Malcolm.
I like Torpedo Anna. I'm a working man over here. You know, the 8-5.
Me and Malcolm aren't working men. That's why we're able to throw our money around on these ponies like this.
Exactly. Kicking it over to Saturday, race 10, 5.5 furlongs, $500,000 up for grab. Grade 1, Japer Stakes. Am I pronouncing that right, Chase?
The Japer. Close enough.
Close. That's all right.
Japer. Okay. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm looking at a trainer in this race that I literally quit trying to beat like 2 years ago. After just taking ass beating after ass beating, trying to beat him. Charles Appleby, Chaz Appleby, as I like to call him. He flies in his first choice of jock, William Buick, to ride the number 12 Mischief Magic, which at 8-1, it seems like this whole entire weekend, every single horse I like is sitting at 8-1.
That's a sign.
That's nice.
Yeah, this one just got what we call the ball-ectomy, the ultimate equipment change. It's a first-time gelding, and I love seeing this horse win. This one being, first time gelded, looks like it's pretty focused workouts, which is what you aim to see. Plus, it's owned by Godolphin. Godolphin makes a ton of money off of these horses' breeding rights afterwards. So if they are cutting off this horse's balls, they plan on making that money in the winner's circle. That's why I think Mr. Magic might be really live here.
So now, why would one cut a horse's balls off from a strategic point of view, Wolf?
It's easy to focus when you're not thinking about passing on your genetic material, I guess would be the most. It's kind of the rubbing one out at the strip club kind of theory, I guess.
Yeah, you don't want to walk into the club with bullets in the chamber.
Okay, I like that.
You see that? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But but it's permanent, and so you just take the gun away altogether.
So is that why they? I mean, I feel like I wouldn't want to race at all. I just want to lay around and be. If both were gone, I feel like wouldn't be very motivated to even get up in the morning.
All you'd have is racing.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. Is
Is that why they put the blinders on sometimes, Malcolm, so they stop checking out these hot other female horses?
That's exactly it. Yeah. If I don't see one of you two on Shark Tank pitching strip club for horses, by the way, in the next 6 months, I'm going to question everything I know about them. I made a few notes about quite a few Charlie Appleby contenders, actually. Which might tie in. If that first one wasn't a working man's place, we might be able to make some parlays. And I didn't actually see Chase's pick in this race. Because Mischief Maker was the one that I jotted down here. And Charlie Appleby, he kind of worked out in 2020 that there was a lot of good prize money on offer in fairly weak races. if you can take your horses, he's had them out in Qatar, he's had them out in Hong Kong, and you'll very often see him. You'll start recognising these all Royal Blue Silks, just plundering these races around the US and globally, wherever. So he's quite a shrewd operator, because it's a little bit easier now to transport a horse around than it was 20 years ago. So Appleby does bring in this Mischief Magic. It's in stall 12, which is the only negative, because that's the widest of the entire field. Has been gelded. And crucially, as Chase pointed out, it's the choice of William Buick. So the trainer's got a couple in the race, and he'll offer his top jockey the choice. And Buick has chosen to ride Mischief Magic in this. So yeah, I co-sign everything Chase said. I've only got 6-1, yeah, and so I must be getting a little bit of a British tax with it being a runner from over here. So I'll have to shop around and see if I can find some of that 8-1.
Now, so the owner, his name is Chaz, or the trainer?
The trainer, Charles Appleby. I just call him Chaz because it feels disrespectful.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah, none of that silliness. He's Charlie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, I don't know if I can bet on a guy named Chaz.
Wolf, another silly question probably here, but do horses deal with jet lag? Like you're flying this horse to Hong Kong.
Yeah, we just learned about this with the Japanese horse, remember?
Yeah, bringing it over from Japan. Is there any formula of like, hey, it's crossing 12 time zones, it's got to get used to what time it wakes up and eats its breakfast? Like, is there, I'm sure it's factored in somewhat, but is there like a set formula? Are there trainers who do like, the NFL teams when they go to London, some fly out early, some maybe think last minute? Walk us through the handicapping aspect of flying with a horse.
They usually tend to get them into town enough to have like a spin, a little training session over the local track. And usually that's how they go about it. In terms of like dealing with the jet lag, I feel like yes might be the best answer to all the questions that you asked. It's just because I think it's going to be a little bit different for every single person. There are things that handicappers talk about. One of them is the Dubai bounce. These horses that are coming over from the Middle East, sometimes they tend to throw out a clunker performance their first time running right off of it. I like Mischief Magic because this one's actually been back in the States for a little bit. It ran in the Shakertown and got a second at Keeneland. And then it ran on Kentucky Derby Day and ran third to Cogburn and Filo di Ariana, who are both in this race today.
Just doing a little vacation in the States. It's like what we do. We backpack in Europe. He's over here, just coming over, seeing the sights, going coast to coast. I mean, when's the last time these two agreed like this?
Yeah,
this feels like the
lock it up.
Yeah, mega whale play.
And kicking it over to the Belmont itself, race 12, 10 furlong, $2 million Grade 1 Belmont Stakes on dirt. Wolf, you have the honors. What are you doing here?
I was well prepared to be all in on the Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan, but I've found another way to go here. And I think that Mystic Dan has been the benefit of some really soft trips. I would call that horse second turn Moses, because in the second turn, it just seems like the seas part and he's got a clear run right up the rail in both of his two biggest wins where he's produced his biggest speed figure. With that being said, it should be wet on Saturday, so you do have to consider Mystic Dan because he seems to do his best running on a wet track. I'm going to go a little outside the box, though. I'm using the 2 Resilience at 10-1. It won the Wood Memorial right before the Kentucky Derby, and it put up a 104 Brisnet speed figure, which is the biggest speed figure that any horse in this race has put up. Whenever it was ran in the Kentucky Derby, it broke from the 18 post. So it wasn't quite in the parking lot, wide, in the gate, but it was pretty damn close to being wide enough to be in the parking lot. And if you watch the replay, the horse really kind of got hung wide, raced wide the entire time. Well, drew the 2 posts here. It should be able to save all the ground and have plenty in the tank left to make its move, which it did, where it briefly took the lead in the Kentucky Derby before the seas parted for Mystic Dan. So I'm all over Resilience here at 10-1, and I'm going to use it in an exacta and trifecta as well.
I will say, Sean, we didn't really talk about it, but the race is being held at not the Belmont. So it's I mean, at least the distance differences and
okay.
like it's one of these things like we're just gonna have to put an asterisk next to this one. They're deciding to run the race at a different distance. I mean, Malcolm can talk about it, but it's 1.25 miles versus 1.5 miles. So typically the Belmont is this like grueling test of a horse's wit or whatever. And all I can think of is the picture of Secretariat winning by like the entire backstretch. But Malcolm, I assume this back to Chase's point, but brings in the horses that did well in the Kentucky Derby because I think it's the same distance, right?
Yeah, it should do. There's building work going on at Belmont, construction going on there.
Up?
Yeah, how is the Belmont not ready for the Belmont?
Well, real quick, I did some research. It seems like this has happened before, and they actually found a way to run it at 1.5 miles at the other track in the past. So I don't know why they made this decision this time.
Yeah, Saratoga has a few little foibles. It's got the 1 mile shoot, and there's some other little bits and bobs. I don't think it'll affect the race too much because it's not a huge field. Every horse should be able to find its position, should be able to find its space. So it wouldn't really concern me unduly. But yeah, it's a shame because I prefer the classic distances, the 1 mile 4. That's something I'm used to handicapping a lot further. We do have an emphasis on stamina with the horses that we send out from over here. Just to your point regarding international travel, Sean, quarantine is very often the problem because they'll have to, I don't know how long, about 3 weeks maybe now. Obviously, for whatever livestock you're transferring, we'll have to, and the facilities, because they'll have to often stay very near the airport or stay on site at the airport in the stables or whatever. So they don't have that level of comfort, or they can't stretch their legs like they used to with the quarantine thing.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's very fascinating. They got to make sure that the germ warfare that's taking place isn't going through our beautiful thoroughbreds.
So, what do you like here, Malcolm? What are you on?
Tell you what, I don't like Moonaf in the chat questioning my history of picking winners after the 16-1 shot in my very last appearance. Moonaf, go on, clear off.
Clear off.
Scurrilous accusations, that is. I don't mind Chase's pick. There was the sort of a field of 10 here. There was 2 or 3 that I liked. There was 2 or 3 I didn't like, and then there was the glob in the middle. Chase's selection comes kind of in the glob in the middle. There's nothing to put you off that horse at all. It ran well in the Derby. It was a good effort from a bad draw and didn't carry much luck. The trainer's shrewd. The Wood Memorial win was good. So I wouldn't put you off that. But I've kind of gone back to, and I've forced myself to go back to Marie's Honour. Because that's a horse I liked for the Kentucky Derby. And there was reasons that I liked it there. The reasons that I like it here. Because it got no kind of race in the Kentucky Derby. There's nothing it did that day to put me off. It lost all chance at the start. Ended up 20th of 20. And at that point, couldn't get into the race and actually stayed on quite nicely. I think it finished 7th or 8th. It was kind of in the picture near the end. So because I liked him for that, I have to like him for the same reasons here. Honor Marie is a closer, which means you need some pace up top. But I think Seize the Grey and Dornock should provide enough pace for the closers. Sierra Leone, the favourite, will be a closer in Honor Marie. And I think those 2 are the ones we'll see coming from the back. So yeah, Honor Marie, my pick, currently trading at round about 8-1. Yeah, that's my outright for the win.
Kramer, what are you doing?
Well, I thought I was gonna just ask them like, hey, it's gonna be rainy again. It's the same race as the Kentucky Derby. Doesn't Mystic Dan just win? But I don't know. This what are you sniffing out? Because I feel like I've heard compelling reasons to take at least 4, maybe 5 horses in this race. No one has agreed with my Mystic Dan take, by the way, so maybe I'll discard that one.
What about Dornock 20-1, and he's beat Sierra Leone? Yeah. How say you, Wolf?
I think that the horse is going to be a little bit pace compromised. Like Malcolm said, there's going to be some early speed in this race. So you have Dornock who's going to go. You've got another horse that people are kind of talking about. The 10 Mind Frame should be out towards the front unless they change tactics. I think Dornock is going to be a little bit up against it. I saw an interesting track stat from my friend Matthew DeSantis at Naira Bets, and he told me basically that horses that are winning going these 2-turn races at Saratoga are within about 3 lengths of the lead at the second call, the second fraction, like 63% of the time. So I think that Dornoch might be a little bit too forwardly placed, but kind of horses like Malcolm mentioned, like I mentioned, should be kind of sitting in that sweet spot.
Malcolm, Dornoch, are we buying in?
Oh wait, sorry, hold on, Malcolm.
No, Malcolm,
do that again.
So you're muted.
I don't mind Dornoch at all. That was another one that I wasn't down at the bottom of my list. That was in the club in the middle because the horse. I wrote a little article you can find on the sportsgamblingpodcast.com. And it opens for Dornoch with, if it wasn't for bad luck, Dornoch would have no luck at all.
He's due.
Because he's just got no run at all from stall 1 in the Derby. He found trouble all over the place. So Dornoch and Seize the Grey will go to the front. We saw Seize the Grey show a good attitude. So with this, it's a 2-day meeting. We've got 14 graded races. If horses are winning off the front, if there's a pattern emerging for horses going off the front, then that would give a little tip of your cap towards Dornoch. So yeah, it's absolutely live. I don't mind it at all.
I like what you did there. You bullied them into saying something nice about Dornoch.
Well, I was looking at Malcolm's article on the website and pulling some points from there and using them against him.
Pre-produced content
to talk us into Dornoch. Give me Dornoch, Ryan. Win Place Show again. The horse is due, and it's not scared of Sierra Leone. And I also like Honor Marie 8-1. Malcolm made some good cases about the pace. And then, that's it. I mean, I like Resilience, which Chase was throwing out there. I don't know. I just can't quite get there. But I'm going to keep it small. Just 2 horses.
What number is Dornoch?
Dornoch
6, I think.
6. Horse number 6.
Yeah. So we're going to do a 286 trifecta box, a 286 exacta box,
and Honor Marie is 6, right?
8.
6 is Dornoch. You're right.
2 is Resilience.
So I will throw 286 in the try box as well.
And then if you were hypothetically doing a superfecta, just add Mystic Dan to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what are you doing, Ryan? You got the try box, you got the Mystic Dan. Any other winners?
No, I agree with Chase. I actually, as you know, I've been in the digital pony streets.
Oh, we hear all of that.
So when I see I'm looking at the real horse handicapping, I'm like, wow, this looks a lot like the digital horse handicapping. I could probably do this too. So, I landed on Resilience. So, 10-1, good price. Hopefully it doesn't. We don't get screwed out of that good number, but yeah.
10-1 is a working man's price.
That's a good. I mean, that's like an in and out manager at in and out working man's price.
Closing it out. Best bets. Wolf, what is your favorite play here of the Belmont weekend?
Of the Belmont weekend, it might be Mischief Magic that me and Mal are both on in the Driper. I like that horse. I'm going to play it, win place, and then I'm going to box it in an exacta with the other Godolphin horse, 2, 6, and 12. So an exacta box 2, 6, 12, and then a win place on the 12 Mischief Magic.
I'm in. What's your best bet here, Malcolm?
With Mischief Magic, Charlie Appleby, who we talked about before, has 2 other really good-looking runners on Friday, and there'll be a lot of people in this country and probably in your country who'll be parlaying all them together. So if the first 2 win, there's no way Mischief Magic will be 6-1. So if you want Mischief Magic, get on early because that price will collapse. The 2 I like, there's a horse called Siskiny, which is in the Belmont Gold Cup, which is a 2-mile race, obviously a slightly alien distance in the States. This horse will be short. It won the same race last year. It was 4-5. It will be short, but that's the one you could parlay up, Ryan. If you wanted to parlay something with Torpedo Anna, Siskiny would be a good choice. And Charlie Appleby has 1 runner on the turf on Friday, and that just absolutely jumps off the page. Just the fact that he's got 1 runner on the turf. It's called English Road. That's in the New York Stakes. The horse is 2 from 2. And has acclimatized in America. Now that's 11-4, so plus 275 for English Rose. But yeah, we'll roll all 3. if the Appleby horses on Friday, Mischief Magic in the Jaipur.
They run on grass, aka turf, more over there in England.
Oh, okay.
And you see how Malcolm's scoffing at our short American distances?
Scoffing, it's just facts. I'm dealing in facts, Ryan. There's no judgment, just facts.
It sounds like you're saying our short distances aren't manly enough for you.
If you can't concentrate for 2 miles, that's not my problem.
I don't need 2 miles.
We're a little short. Coming up short here.
Give me that nice four furlongs, maybe 4.5. I'm good to go.
Wolf, appreciate you calling into the show. Make sure you subscribe to the notorious OTB podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, Malcolm Bamford, always enjoy having you on. You got the MLB gambling podcast and you got the Premier League gambling podcast, which is turning into the Euro gambling podcast coming up. Thank you, gentlemen. We got an interview to get to in just a second here, Ryan. Before we do that, of course, shout out to Game Time. Maybe you're looking to get some last minute tickets. We got the Stanley Cup. We got the NBA Finals. Use that promo code SGPN over at GameTime.co. Get you $20 off. You get the Game Time guarantee. You cannot go wrong. Game Time has you covered. You're going to get great seats at a great price and get them last minute. Also, shout out to Rhythm. I mean, we got the NBA Finals happening right now. Rhythm, if you haven't signed up, what are you waiting for? Get that free 7-day trial over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. You can come up with your own NBA prop models, or you can just use the ones they're giving you over on Rhythm, including Jaden Hardy over 4.5 points. They got him projected out to almost 6 there. Like the KP under 15.5 points. Totally agree with that one. Love it. Again, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm to get your free 7-day trial, AI picks, props. You can make your own models. It is an awesome app. And of course, last but not least, Underdog Fantasy. They just announced their new Pick 8. That's right. Pick 8. You can win up to $325 your entry. That is amazing. And they always got a bunch of specials going. So Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. Get that deposit match up to $250 and get your Pick 8 going. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code SGPN. Joining us on the line, the creator of Photo Finish Live, Ian Cummings. Ian, let's just start with that. I mean, I know what Photo Finish Live is because I work with Ryan, and he will not stop talking about this awesome digital horse racing game. But why don't you tell the good people who have maybe missed out on the craze here, what is Photo Finish Live?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, Photo Finish Live is a video game. It is a horse racing game where players are, owning their horses and they're racing against each other. That's sort of the top line. If you've ever dreamed of being a horse owner in real life but didn't really know where to start, where do you find one? How do you take care of an animal? This is maybe the entry point into that, but then it goes way deeper. So players are breeding with each other, which is weird, and they're racing against each other. There's a lot of that, and then there's real money involved.
Those guys who will get penetration.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off,
John.
John
knows all about it.
Shout out to Madden.
There probably is a horse named John. Madden,
if not, Ryan, you need to get one.
Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you for making this game one, because if my wife ever brings up this fantasy of owning a horse, I can just go, sure, we can own a horse, a digital horse, and my wife also big animal person. So if you're worried about, they're not treating these horses well, the digital thing you don't have to worry about at all. I gotta know, or I would love to hear your take. Why horse racing? Like, what about it for you sparked an interest, or you thought there was a place in the market for it? Like, what inspired you to create Photo Finish Live?
Yeah, so I mean, this goes back nearly 10 years. We've been making horse racing games since 2014, and that came from really my job for a decade prior to that was working on Madden football, and I've been a sports gamer my whole life. I've been a sports bettor and gambler my whole life as well. So after I kind of wrapped up my time on Madden, I still love sports games. And I thought at that point, I'd been in the industry a long time, 13, 14 years I've been in the game industry, and thought I could make my own game. You just had all that bravado at that point. I could do whatever I want now. And I honestly went to a website, most popular sports in the world by fans, and then I start looking down the list. Like, I'm going to make a game. Let's see. Should I make soccer? That's number one. No, that's going to be too hard. Should I make cricket? No, I don't even know how that works. You kind of kick down. Football. No, I've done that. I get to tennis, maybe golf, maybe horse racing. And I was like, like, I go to my phone. Is there anything good in horse racing? Is there any good horse racing games? And I couldn't find any. It was just like literally nothing. And so that was it. That was the start, was business first. It was audience first rather than passion for the sport. I knew nothing about horse racing, barely. I had been to one race at Keeneland when I was in college my whole life. But I thought, well, this is a cool sport though. Even though I'm not into it, it started to like scratch the itch of like, well, I love gambling and I love, I love the competition part.
Language.
Yeah. Checks a lot of boxes,
No,
yeah, it did.
Watching a horse run that you own in a game, also adding on like the real financial stakes is truly a rush. I mean, you talk about Madden, and we got to go back to your Madden days there a little bit. And I'm sure there was a lot of side bets in dorm rooms and high school.
Can I even go back further before we go to Madden, because you did attend the University of Tennessee, and you happened to show up on campus the year they go on, and it was first year of the BCS too. So we don't have Colby here to get a take on the how BCS ruined college football, but this was the first year of that, and this was the year that Tennessee, a starved alumni base, and often irrationally confident, wins the national championship.
Irrationally confident.
We heard so much.
Peyton Manning,
Well, of course, and we heard so much about them taking the goalpost down to the river this year when they had a big win. What was the craziest thing that you guys did? I mean, a freshman in college, I could only imagine. You win the national championship. What was that next week like?
Oh, it was crazy. Now I do remember having like strep like that week because it sucked after it was over. But I definitely remember my freshman year there. I'd never been to a college football game, and the first ones I'm going to are at UT. It's 108,000 people. They're just absolutely insane. All of us bringing in a handle bottle of Jack Daniels throughout. It's just absolutely absurd. Standing room only everywhere. So loud. And that was that first year. I remember waiting in line for almost a day to get Florida tickets. We hadn't beaten Florida in forever, and that was my big memory. Is that game? I think we had a couple of cupcake games before we played Florida. We played Florida at home. We hadn't beaten them forever. We ended up beating them, and I think I jumped down like an actual club level section, like just fearless, like to go storm the field, picking up grass chunks to tell your friends. It was just like the most unbelievable. So the unfortunate part was that it's all downhill since like that national championship year, and to think like, wow, UT's got it made, and then like within no time, just like bottom feeder, barely losing to Vandy. It's been pretty rough.
I was going to say the parallels too, Sean, as someone I showed up to Virginia Tech a year after Vic took them to the national championship. Same story for me, but I had to ask you the one. So is the SEC championship bigger that year, or is the national championship bigger?
Yeah, I think the SEC championship was. I mean, I do think great. that national championship game with Florida State, it was just sort of like, it was so new and different to have it like that. And I think it was it Peter Warwick was like, and he was like, he had been accused of shoplifting or something. There was all these stories around that almost, it was like, well, we're just going to take this, but really we'd already beaten Florida. That was the main, like beating UF and beating Bama. That was really all that mattered.
Yeah, exactly. Winning at Georgia.
It just shows you the SEC mentality. Like the rest of you don't matter.
SEC.
We got it done here.
So
exactly. So sorry, Madden.
No, Matt. How do you get in on Madden? Because I imagine playing Madden or whatever year you hopped in there. I would imagine as someone working in games, that's got to be like a dream gig, working for EA, working on the Madden franchise. How do you get in and kind of what was your like day to day working on the Madden game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was there a long time, but the getting in my foot in the door was really randomly lucky, and I'm still grateful for the chance. Now, I think when I think back, like I probably would have found a way into the game industry. I was so obsessed with video games, but when I started at UT as a freshman, I enrolled in computer science. I thought, well, you've got to learn computer science to make video games. And within the first class, I was like, this sucks. This is horrible. Like I hated it. I flunked out. You know, it was just like, okay, maybe I should be a business major. I just changed entirely because it was so hard. They would teach programming on an overhead projector. I mean, she would literally be writing code with her hand. And then you'd have it was so early, I guess, when you think about it, compared to like nowadays where you can have you can watch YouTube videos and learn it all. But so it just so happened I'd been playing, obviously in my dorm room with my buddies. We played Tiger Woods nearly every day. We were shooting.
Oh, that was the game back in the day. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We were shooting 59s, that would basically just be so we played that all the time. And then we played college football all the time as well. And I had grown up playing Madden was my game as a kid, Madden and NHL. So anyway, always EA Sports games. And so it just so happened they roll through town. EA Sports comes into town. They went to about 10, maybe 15 schools on a tour to recruit game testers. So they'd show up in a van with like 8 big CRT TVs and 8 PlayStations, and they would hold a tournament. Whoever won would then go to an SEC tournament, and then they would have a national championship kind of a thing. That was their little recruiting trip in the year 2000. And so it just so happens they came through town, and one of my buddies, this guy Ben, I thought, of course, I was a real pro gamer at that time, but like he knew all the like cheats. I mean, he was just, you hated playing him. You would never play him because he would sack you when you snapped it. You would fumble every time you humble. He was like all cheats. Like, man, Ben's garbage. Like the dude just cheats. You act like, and then of course he gets in this tournament and he just like hangs 80 points on everyone. And so he wins right away. And so I think he goes to the SEC championship. He might have won that too, or maybe came second or something. And at the end of that,
I love the SEC. Is just so about the SEC. It's like, well, we got to have an SEC championship of video games.
Video games, yeah, right.
We can't do like a national thing. We need the SEC.
We got to go beat Florida, in the video game tournament.
We got to go to those nerds at Mississippi State and dominate them on the digital gridiron. I just love that they had their own SEC Madden tournament.
Wise. It means more.
So and probably didn't allow Vandy or Kentucky to play.
Sorry, not eligible. Right. Well, there were probably some recruiting violations with some of these schools, but they being the SEC, we didn't hear about those.
No.
Your buddy goes to the college football SEC championship, and
the college one he wrecks them. I think he did first or second. He did really well, and so their EA Sports reps are there. And they're like, would you like to have a job? Come test NCAA 2000. Come down and test the game. And he's like, yeah, can my buddies come too? And they're like, whatever, they don't care. And so he gets a phone number from, the rep, the QA director here in Orlando. Says, well, I've got 2 friends that want to join. And he was thinking of me and then another one of his friends, Alex. And because we just played games together all the time. And so I called this guy trying to get an interview from, this tournament was in like January. So January, February, March, April, May. I'm calling this guy like once a week to try and get an interview because I'm like, this is the job I want. I want to come test.
Yeah.
And he just ghosts me the whole time, just never just totally clowns me. And so it comes to like, May and Ben is driving down and I'm like, dude, I'm going to follow you down there. Let's go, and I was like, at worst case, I told my mom too, I'm like, worst case, if they just say no, I'll just be a bartender or something. I'll live in Florida for the summer and I don't know, I'll figure it out. I was a sophomore.
Love that.
Yeah. So I show up at the door. Can I be a tester? And they're like, yeah, whatever, like just sit over there. And I'm like, yes, did it, and they could just care less. They're like, it'll be $6 an hour, and you work.
You're gonna pay me? You're gonna pay me to play college football? All right.
Yeah, I was like, I worked 3 to midnight. That was my shift, which was awesome. Just slept in.
I mean,
like have a
it just
beer.
takes you back to those college days of like. if you could tell me you work 9 hours, quote unquote, just playing video games, and then, you know, especially at that age, you get out at midnight, maybe you hit the bar, you're hanging out in the apartment, whatever.
Grandma's Boy is literally a whole movie based on this premise.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about Grandma's Boy.
I mean, that's the dream right there.
So living the dream, testing the games.
Yeah, so I start testing. You know, so long story short, I don't know how long I could talk for 2 hours about this, but we basically, you know, I start testing, and the moment I did it, it was like, this is it. This is what I want to be. This is the job. So I worked that whole summer as a tester. Dropped out of college, never left EA, and basically was like, I worked my way up from, you know, game tester to assistant producer to creative director over, you know, the course of 10 years, and yeah, I mean, it was just a real dream at the beginning. It sort of like, once I got into the top tier part of that career, it became a real drag. It was a lot of meetings and PowerPoints, and, you know, Madden was a big team. It became no longer this, like what I had done with my boys, and we're just playing the game, and we're every year just brainstorming, what are the cool things we're going to do? And, you know, what are the new features? Like, all that went away as you get higher and higher up the chain. Yeah. And so then that was really it. I just got so burned out on this. Like, I would have days where I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I'd just be in meetings back to back, you know, and I'm like, this is just, what in the hell happened here? How did I end up at like an insurance company?
You know, you're speaking Sean's language right now.
No,
in terms of corporate bureaucracy.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
I feel like I kind of went similar path where, like, TV writing, I did a bunch. I was working on a bunch of clip shows, and yeah, it's like, wait, you're gonna pay me to write jokes for these shows, and then you know, years and years down the line, you're like, all right, I kind of want to do my own thing. And that's, you know, the timing worked out that our company was picking up steam, and so I could kind of transition to that. And I imagine, you know, from what you're describing, kind of a similar thing where, hey, I feel like I've kind of did everything I wanted to do. Now I'm just like managing the people who are actually getting to come up with the games, but like, that's what I want to do.
And fuck PowerPoints also, right?
PowerPoints.
Yeah, enough of that. Mean, yeah, right.
Zoom, you know,
Zoom meetings. Yeah, it was prior to Zoom, but yeah, there was a lot of meetings where I would spend, you know, weeks on this PowerPoint deck, you know, just like getting it dialed in. I'd rehearse it, had my animations dialed in, you know, and I'd get in there, and then, like, I remember one where the head of marketing guys, just the entire time, is just like on his BlackBerry, you know, just like, and I finished, and I swear to God, I finished the deck, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry, could you run through that again? I was just like, and luckily someone else was in there. It was just like, go to hell. No, he's not doing it again. You know? But I was just like, why did you ever
get it? Did you ever get to meet Madden? Did he ever like pop in for, oh, okay. What was that like?
Did. Oh, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So he came by the studio a couple times, and both times I wasn't there. So that was really bummed about that. He actually came through a few times with the cruiser, and like people got to get on the damn bus, you know. And so I was bummed. I was really bummed that I missed those. He did those both of the times. He did them during like Christmas break, and I was out of town. But so then right after he retired, DirecTV and Outback and all these people set up this huge warehouse in Pleasanton, you know, in California, where he's from, right near his house. That was like his watch party hangout for NFL Sundays.
Oh,
and awesome. And so they invited us out there for the opening week of 2009 season, if I remember right.
Cool.
And so he just retired. We roll in, and you know, there's just Outback Steakhouse shit everywhere. And it's just like, you wouldn't believe the amount of, like, or is it blooming onions or whatever? Those are just everywhere, you know. And so he's just sitting in this big chair, you know, sitting back, and there's 10 65-inch screens, and then one big 105-inch projector screen, and all these chairs around it. And they give us these set of headphones. And the headphones have a little clicker, and you can choose which number, like TV2, TV4. You know, every game is on every channel. And then there's a guy in the corner who's just sitting at this little desk, and John would just shout at him to change the channel to the big one. And
that's great.
And that guy, his whole job was just like, he's just sitting there waiting, like
waiting for Madden to yell at him to change the channel.
I gotta be honest, Sean. As someone who has architected an awesome wall of TVs in our office, I now have an aspirational vision. Yeah, I think this is like the scene in The Matrix when you meet the architect and he's in this circular room. I feel like I need to. This is a place that's only spoken of in the myths.
We got 8 TVs on the wall, but I mean,
I don't have someone in the corner to yell at.
Yeah, we need it. We need to find
to
one
get
of those
the primary. You need the big one. Yeah, and so at some point, at halftime or something, that. That was my first year as creative director. I'd of course been working on the game forever, but I'd never met him. And so they bring me over. Hey, this is Ian. He's now in charge, and I mean, he's huge. He's a massive man. His hand is a catcher's glove, when he shakes your hand. And he's like, the referees are in the wrong position. Just like that was what he led with.
Yeah, that's great. I mean,
I was like, yes, sir.
That's a great Madden story, man.
Just immediately, awesome. Like the back judge needs to be at least 20 yards behind the.
That's
like,
amazing.
All right, I'm on it, sir. Coach. I keep calling him coach. But yeah, he was obviously like the majority of that day. He sat next to our playbooks guy, Anthony, and they talked. I mean, just nonstop about play, like the passion and the attention to detail that he had to the game. It was so exciting. Like, yes, he was terrifying. He's kind of gruff and all this type of stuff, but like he's such an amazing man, that he, like, after all these years, he's well retired and he's sitting there just like, you see, there's a yard in on the shotgun. He's got this, just every little detail. And of course the playbook guy just like ate it up. I think it was a highlight of his life for sure.
Yeah, that must have been great. And
tell me again about the time you sat with John Madden for 6 hours and talked about the triple option.
No, and it's all, and by you hear that he was very tuned in. Like, he didn't have to. He could have signed his name off years ago, but he wanted the product to be good because he was passionate about. Hey, we want this realistic football game. We want to put if I'm going to put my name on it, I want it to be good. I want it to be accurate.
Well, and
over time, go ahead. Yeah.
No, continue.
I was just going to say, over time, as he got older and older, like, he obviously didn't work on it as much, but he would still check it out. He would still look at it. He would still notice the referees being wrong. He would still record commentary throughout the years. And some of those, I wish I had some of those excerpts. If we could find people at EA, there's so many lines of him making fun of the designers on the mic because they had written a line for him that he's just like, this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen. I would never read this. Who wrote this? And then we're all clowning the guy like, you didn't even know what a tight end was, stupid. Like
the Madden outtakes. That is a gem somewhere. If anyone from EA ever comes across,
they were so good. They were so good. He had the dirtiest mouth.
Documentary.
Yeah, I bet.
These
motherfuckers.
Well, he was the last. He was the last locker room with beer and cigarettes. So you could see where it comes from. I do have a Madden question for you, because everyone, Sean will remember this because we were roommates back in this time.
Yes.
But Madden 2004, Michael Vick was unstoppable. It allowed me to be one of the greatest Madden players on the planet. You don't know this. Our audience already knows this, but. In 2005, I believe you guys released a feature called the hit stick, which essentially rendered Michael Vick useless. Was I individually targeted, and was this a clear feature to take Michael Vick out of the game?
We knew who you were, and we thought enough is enough, But no, it obviously was. A lot of the Madden 05 design was specifically against Vick, And what was wild is, like, I remember this so clearly. I still have notebooks about this. And there's actually a documentary coming out, I think, later this year about some of this era. Because I provided all my notes and all these things to these people putting it on. But there was that was the first year that we signed a deal with the coaches union. So the NFLCA. And so we had access as part of that to put their names in the game. That was the main reason we did it, so that you could see head coach such and such, is on your team, and we could model them and stuff. But part of that is we would get 5 meetings a year with any coach we wanted. Basically, we would just, as long as we could get their schedule, where we could go and pick their brains. And so what we did that year is we picked 4 defenses that had gone against Vic, and we're asking them, like, what the hell do we do? Like, what do we do? Like, we don't we can't change his ratings. We can't make them slower. Like, what do you do? And it was so crazy because all of them were like, we're the same way, man. We have no idea.
We don't know.
I don't know. And so that was a lot of that year was like, okay, well, here's what QB spies are. Here's some of the packages we run we got to get faster linebackers, and we run double spies and both flats, and all these things that were like you never had seen before. No one had ever had to worry about, where they're like, so we built a lot of defenses around it. And then there was a lot more that we did, I think, around the hit stick. The QBs would fumble a lot more. Vic would get hurt a lot more because I think he got hurt that year. You remember, like, so there was a lot more that we did to, like, well, he's still great, but this is it should be a little riskier than it was in the game prior, where there was literally no reason why you wouldn't
stopping him. He was just dominating.
It was like Vic on a rollout, Dante Culpepper on the rollout to Randy Moss was it allowed like a 9-year-old girl to beat me in one of the Madden Challenge tournaments. Anyway, we can move that. That concludes me talking about my glory years.
So you decide to make the jump, do your own thing, get photo finish live, to make a horse racing game. When did you launch photo finish, and take us through where it's grown from when you first got it going?
Yeah, I mean, it started as a mobile game. That was the sort of acumen I had built, as building games in Unity and building them on the App Store. And so I'd gotten pretty good at that, I thought. And so that first version of Photo Finish in 2014, I launched in Australia just by myself, nights and weekends, sort of got it working to see if it would be worth anything. And before I knew it, it was a success. Like, it was an unexpected success. It started making, quite a bit of money, really good amount of downloads just in Australia. And I'm like, well, geez, holy crap. Like, I can do this for real. Like, I can make a studio now. And so I formed a studio off of the back of that, and always were, fiercely indie, always had like 3 to 4 to 5 employees, just very tight group of guys that I had worked with at EA, and just had a lot of fun doing that. And we made 2 mobile horse racing games. Both were pretty successful, paid the bills, but not like, multimillionaire status or anything. Just like, great. Running our own empire was, even though it was small, was so much more fun than what we had done at EA, right? Like the sort of corporate game dev that it had come to. So we really were enjoying that. And around 2021 is when I saw NBA Top Shot start to take off. And I really started to think there's legs in this crypto Web3 angle with real money. And when you think back to our horse racing games at that point on mobile, I mean, they were making lots of money off of the players, but not a lot. I mean, like, relatively speaking, you could get $100 off of somebody or $200 off of someone. And at the same time, all the users are requesting the same thing. I wish I could bet on my horse. I wish I could play for money. I want to play for stakes. I mean, because that's the sport. Like, that's what it's for. I want trifectas. I want pick sixes. I want the whole thing. And so
it's funny, and not to break in, but like, Sean and I have been doing this for so long, we often get approached with the idea of like a gamified casino or a gamified sports book. And it's like, yeah, but the whole point is the gambling. You can't make fake gambling and expect people to really go all the way in.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because there are slots games on mobile that make lots of money. And I still am like, who is playing this? Like, why on earth? Like, poker, I somewhat understand a free poker game because, like, maybe you just feel like you're getting better. You just weren't ready to play for stakes and it's skill based. But like, slots, like, what in the world? Yeah. But some people, I mean, they play it, and like, again, playing slots game for free for entertainment. Okay. But like, why on earth would you put money into a slot machine with literally zero chance of return? I don't understand. But people do it. So there's an entertainment value there that I think the games provide, that maybe you don't have to have real money. But we started to, like, in 2021, brainstorm out and think through what does a game look like that is real money based, massively multiplayer in essence, where the whole ecosystem of the game is controlled by the players, and, following the ethos of crypto and somewhat decentralized manner, if you can, and so we started really just brainstorming, prototyping, building ideas as our third game. The other 2 mobile games they hadn't like reached the end, but they were, on the way down. And so we were looking, well, what are we going to do next? And a lot of team members, we weren't sure, do we really want to do another horse racing game? We've already done 2, but it was like, well, we've already got all the stuff. Like, why don't we try it? Why don't we try a real money one? And so I spent a ton of money on attorneys first. before we did anything, you know, getting a state by state legal review of like, where could we actually release this thing, and what part can we do, what part can't we do. And so around September 2021 is when we sort of announced it. And January 2021, 2022, we had raised like a $3.5 million venture round. Everyone was super excited. And then we launched the beta in June of that year. And then we've just been off and running. So we were in beta for about a year. So 2023, we landed the Kentucky Derby license and that multi-year partnership. And then we went live right with the Derby last year, 2023. And so it's been out for just about a year and a month. And it's been crazy, man. I mean, I never would have expected like some of these numbers, you know, some of the players that have made north of 7 figures now. Some of the players are, yeah.
Well, I think also just the traditional horse, like attacking it from the idea that we're going to partner with the traditional horse business. We're going to make this seem like a feasible thing, and without getting into the depths of how the game works, but just offering the ability to kind of treat it like real. I mean, like you said, between the gambling and then like the ownership, the staking, like it does seem like real. And I kind of want like direct question, like, are you seeing a lot of traditional horse stables dipping the toe in and standing up digital stables, or getting in for just the staking maybe?
There's a few. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a couple that own real life horses that came in. One of the earliest supporters we have were the owners of Hot Rod Charlie. Those young guys, boat racing. So Hot Rod Charlie was just sort of their college purchase. They just graduated. It was like, hey, let's buy a horse together and we'll follow it. And it ends up being a freaking Derby horse, you know. Lucky bastards. Yeah. And just so you know, I bought in with them on their follow-up horse and it got claimed for like $5,000. Dog shit. Nothing.
Just miss. Just miss.
I mean, most of the time they are donkeys, unfortunately.
Yeah. So anyway, they don't have a secret formula, unfortunately, because I paid that one. But regardless, I think what you see, the majority of the player base, I would say at least 60% are much more into the daily fantasy, poker, sports betting mindset, which is surprising. I did think it would be maybe more heavily skewed into horse racing fans that have thought, oh man, I love racing and I always wanted to own a horse, but I live in a location where I can't, or whatever. But it's been shocking that it's like the strategy game that all the DFS hardcore players love and the poker players love. So that's been great to find that we're not just a niche game for horse racing fans. Like a lot of the people that are in our community have no idea how, like I went to the Derby and met a lot of them, and a lot of them are like, so what's a trifecta again? And I'm just like,
well, tell them to subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
We'll sort them out. But it is interesting because there is an element of like the unsolvable aspect of the game that has drawn these people from these solved games like DFS, traditional DFS, or poker. And yeah, I think that's kind of the interesting element of the game. I mean, we are a bit into the game, and sometimes with these NFT games or these crypto games, quote unquote, there's benefit to getting in early, and people feel like if they miss it, like, all right, I already missed the wave. But I think one of the interesting things with this game compared to the other horse game, which Sean and I dabbled with a little bit, was the concept, like the best horses don't start. You don't start the game with the best horses. You evolve and have to figure out breeding and all this other stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, like an entry point. This, like, how many stables are there right now? Because I know the Derby deal certainly helped blow it up, but it's still like a relatively small amount of stables.
Yeah. I always say it's early. I mean, I'll always say it's early anyway, because you never finish these games. But yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at a few thousand players playing like very religiously. 20,000-ish people have registered to play, but like you're looking at 2,000 to 3,000 that play like on a very regular hardcore basis. So it's not very many. I mean, I think our mobile games had 100,000 daily, you know, like there was huge audiences on those. And so I feel like we have so much more room to go and grow into. And so it is very early in that respect. And it's funny you say that too. It just reminded me of the EA. I think you were even asking some of those EA days. One of the like strongest cultural things of the EA Sports studio was our fantasy league. And I mean, we're talking like 20 plus years of lore and history in the fantasy league at EA Sports, and multiple divisions where if you ended in the bottom four, you get relegated down into the juniors and then the peewees. And so getting up into the top league was $250 buy-in, and every transaction costs $5, and the pools would end up getting huge. But that was, again, all that is sort of what Photo Finish is. It's that level of ownership of like, I'm going to check in every single day. Is there a free agent? Is there a race to do? Is there this? It's really that model of game. It's not an arcade game. It's much more of a, fantasy football, but like a dynasty fantasy football league.
It's dynasty fantasy football. If you could gamble on every player in these events in the off season, where you could can I challenge my player to sprint against that other player and do so for real money? Yes, please.
Yep. No, it's I'm jealous Ryan's getting in, but perfect time. Like you said, it's still time to get in early. Go to signup.photofinish.live. We got a code there for you, SGPN. So signup.photofinish.live. Ian, really appreciate having you on here. Before we let you go, any analog horse picks for the Belmont? Any ponies you like this weekend?
So I haven't been following it too much. I mean, I am going to try and do a little more handicapping later. Of course, I remember a lot of these horses from Derby week, and myself and a few of the other folks there at the Derby plowed into Dornoch. I mean, just like we were watching races prior to the Derby, like him as a 2-year-old, where he had, I can't remember which, I need to go back and look at the actual race where he actually got past on the home stretch and then fought back and won. And I think it was against Sierra Leone. And so we were like, well, he's got the heart of a champion. Like this is and he's 18-1, or whatever. It was like, the
worst thing that can happen is being around a bunch of your buddies and someone has that bet idea. And then everyone's like, yeah. Well, next thing you know, you put an irrational amount of money down on a horse.
Yeah. I remember one of the guys I was with, I think he put $500 on him to win, and I was like, dude, maybe at least throw show in, something like he's 18-1. Like you just hedge a little. It's like, hell no, dude. It's either going to be a party, champagne tonight or not, so there wasn't, there was no champagne. So anyway, if I'm playing this, I'm typically an exacta box better. That's typically like my MO. And so I've been sort of circling Sierra Leone, and likely will do Mystic Dan and Dornoch as my exacta box. That's sort of probably where I'll end up. That's typically, I like Seize the Gray too. I love grays, same as everyone.
Oh yeah.
But very fun. I'm gonna do I typically always do 3 horses in an exacta box, and I'm gonna go Sierra Leone, Dornoch, and Mystic Dan.
Love it. Appreciate it, Ian. And follow Ian on X as well, at Ian Cummings NFT. And of course, signup.photofinish.live, code SGPN. Ian, appreciate the time, and good luck in the digital horse streets.
Yeah. Real pleasure. Great talking with you all.
Good times hanging with our new buddy, Ian Ryan. A lot of fun there. Got the analog, we got the digital. We're ready to go. We're horse locked in.
I want to visit that Madden viewing center.
Yeah,
I want to touch it.
The setup that they got for Madden, Ryan, that's become our new goal as a company to have
11 TVs. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing? We need 11 TVs. I just like the lackey he had to yell to change the main screen. We call that the pupil of God's eye. Kramer, good times as always. Navra Bets, head over there. Promo code SGPN25. Get you to the $25 free bet, $200 deposit bonus. Hey, when we talk to you tomorrow, we'll talk a little PLL lacrosse. Yes. Let's go.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
We're winning this weekend, Sean.
Kramer, let it ride.